if there are sanctions, the sanctions should apply to everybody the same. And you have to be somebody who is honest, a person of integrity, because when you lie, you are making the wrong impact in the world. And you must be disciplined in the sense that when you say, I will do this, you commit yourself to it and you do it. And you must be humble. Bring yourself down. You're only human. And in a nutshell, you must be God-fearing. Because the Bible says, love thy neighbor as thyself. I'm saying respect thy neighbor as thyself. And these are the kind of people that we're trying to groom. And during their induction, the first thing I do is throw them into a chance in jungle warfare. And they have a bit of military training. Why? Because the best form of leadership training is in the military. Nowhere else. None is better than that. Because that is where you are able to actually lead people to the point where there's trust. And the people trust that you, the leader or the officer, if you take them into war with bullets flying, you will bring them back. And you, the officer, also feel that with the training and care you're giving to the people, they will not give up on you, and with them, you will come back. So that's the training that establishes trust and care. And that is why I take them for military training initially. And then after that, I assign them mentors, and we do boot camp, and we do a whole lot of things, lectures and all sort of activities throughout 1 year. Then they come out as ambassadors. Because you see, what I'm trying to do is that when there is a chance for us to change, there will be the people who can be called upon to make that change. Because the way we are going as a country, the direction we are going with our youth trying to be reached in 2 minutes or just about a year, and then with also the obvious indicator that the people who are really, really wrong are the people who are actually making it. And if you try to be straight, if you are not careful, your girlfriend will leave you one time. Because they'll go for somebody who insults elders and has got a V8. So at least what I'm trying to do is cast some bread upon the waters so that we can give hope a chance. So somebody asked me, Kofi, so really, do you think what you are doing, it can change anything? And I looked at it and I said, there's a very funny proverb in Tree. And it's funny because I laugh a bit. It says, "Insu ebe fameno menumbi." And it's funny because it's certainly going to drown you and take you away, but at least you will drink some before it takes you away. So I'm fighting hard with the rest of my life, and I actually honestly believe that God took me through all these successes and UT and everything to open my eyes and do something that is bigger than giving loans and running the bank. So I feel that I now have a problem, a core, which is bigger than what I dealt with. And that God brought things to where it did as a UT going down because He wanted to release me for me to do something else. So, in a nutshell, what I'm saying, congratulations to you guys for organizing this, touching on the issue about mindset and so on and so forth. I've done my bit, but think about it. Why do we have the wrong mindset? We do have it. Because if you go to Bronx, to Harlem, to Soweto, to Nima, as soon as you get there, you can see my people are here. The black man lives with nature. They will pee anywhere. They will drop litter anywhere. And it's in our DNA. But the abundance is no more because of population growth and migration and urbanization and all those things. But it's in our DNA. We need people who will say, Ubedi line. Everything will start on time. And the laws will work. The institutions will work, but it starts with the right leadership. If the leader can change things and be disciplined to lead by example, it will change. At UT, no meeting started late, if you like, ask anybody. No meeting. Because you come and find me sitting down. CEO and founder, I'm here. And you are coming to tell me what? Incidentally, I even put a policy in place because at some point I realized that they have started doing lovey in the company. That time we were about 45. And I called HR and I said, I hear all sort of things. He said, oh, who told you? I said, no, that's not the point, but I hear there are cliques and people are doing things. Long story short, I said, I want a policy which will stop it. And he says, which policy? I said, if you are caught doing any love thing, being in a love relationship, both of you will go. But if you think you're going to fall in love, one of you should resign. Then the HR said, how would you know? I said, you put the policy there for me. And the policy was put in place. At the time, we were 45, as I said. And it's the policy that I regretted putting in place for some reason. Later on, you two grew. You know, we started with about 4, me and 3 other people. In about 2012, we were employing directly over 2,500 people. Come and see beauty. And meanwhile, CEO, I couldn't do anything. But I'm supposed to lead by example. So, and I did sack people for it. I could use circumstantial evidence and sack people. And in all cases, I was right. So please, the emphasis for us is to put, if we want to change, it's about grooming experts as in leaders who have the values I'm talking about, who have empathy, care for people, look for people who have the right attitude and put them in place. Merit counts more than connections and loyalty, even though loyalty also counts. And you have to be God-fearing, you must be humble, and be somebody of discipline. And we will not get it by chance. We must make sure we invest in it. And that's what I'm doing. So on that note, thank you very much. If there are any issues, we'll talk about it. Q&A.
Thank you so much. So please, ladies and gentlemen, once more, let's put our hands together for Captain, retired Prince Kofi Amwambe. Please, let's have questions, whether in Tree Proverbs or do you do Ghana Proverbs as well? Oh, okay. We'll find you. So please, let's have some questions. Any question? Okay, great.
Hello, sir. Hi. So nice to meet you. Giovanni. Yes, Giovanni. Not the one on TV, though. Yes, sir. So mine is more like a commendation. This is my first time meeting you, and I just wanted to thank you for what you've done for us as a country, and looking at your background and what you stand for. I just want to thank you so much for being the kind of person you are. Now, moving on to the Leadership Foundation. This is my first time hearing about it, and I think it's a commendable thing that you're doing. Whilst we were speaking, my thought was, I don't know the kind of people you are focusing on, because as we were speaking, my mind was, okay, if we are going to grow leaders, I think it should start from maybe even nurseries, as low as that, so that then when this generation of old African minds are weeded out, then we have a new generation of people who could take up the mantle and truly change Africa. Thank you.
You know, it's interesting you should say we should start from maybe very low. There's a problem that I have with people who are enrolled onto the course. The course. Now, when I'm talking to them, I feel really good. And there are 2 of them who are even so keen on becoming president because of what instilled in them. One of my fears is that they are not at the helm of affairs now. And then you give them these values, ethics, which is first class, which you think will change the country. Then they go back into their positions. I will lose some of them. Because they go, and actually if you go and you are challenging, they want to go back, they might even sack you. But we want to steal and you are blocking them. So if I should start from lower and then leave them into this system, secondary school, I will lose all of them. So at least people who are at the edge of becoming leaders in various fields, then at least we can retain some of them. Some can change, I will retain some of them. That's my idea. And in any case, with my small pension money, plus a few people helping sponsorship and which I'm using to do that. I mean, I'm not trying to attack a whole lot of numbers, but what I hope eventually is that I will have an academy as a complete school teaching leadership the way I think it should be. Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Raymond. So I wanted to ask a follow-up question concerning the age gap and who you are training in your foundation. What can we do to relearn or reshape our mindset as people who have already been through the system to a certain point? I'm asking this because most of us who are in 20s and 30s, we've already been through the middle to a certain point. And then from an educational standpoint, when you are learning something new or when you are trying to relearn something, it is extremely difficult to adapt. So what would you advise that we do as young adults to restructure our thinking to embody these values that we are trying to embody as Africans?
Get someone to mentor you closely. And what I do with the scholars is that each one is assigned a mentor, not somebody who is successful in life. I must feel that this is a person who really has the kind of values that I appreciate. I remember one of them, my guys came and said, "Oh, let this woman be my mentor." I said, "You know how she made her money." So then I did it. But generally, to your answer, get a mentor who understands your problems and can go to them, and it becomes a lifetime relationship. If the relationship is good, you start with your ideas, what you want to achieve, and then you all set targets and goals, short term, long term, and you'll be surprised how these people can actually change you. I have one of them that was given a scholarship to go to the US by the mentor that I gave him, and they have a great relationship. So, what I advise young people is, if you have a mentor that you trust and you level with, as and when you have these challenges, they'll guide you how to traverse it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. You mentioned that the problem is actually our environment, the abundance in our environment. And unfortunately, it seeped into our DNA, even though we don't have an abundant environment now. And so I guess it was making sense to me that in recent times, we have more and more people wanting to leave the country. And you did mention that once they leave the country, they actually adapt to the better environment and have a better attitude towards life. But then you also said that your friend came here and wanted to go back. And I'm afraid that that is actually what is happening. The people who leave with the hopes of coming back, come back and are like, yeah, I can't do this. I can't live here. And they go back. So in a system that is so full, or should I say empty now, where all our resources have left, how can we convince them to come back and stay and work through the muck of what our DNA is and make it better? Thank you.
Thank you. Very good question. Let me tell you something that I believe in. When I left the army, and I was a graduate of School of Administration, Ghana University Business School, before I joined the army. When I was in the army, I became a chartered accountant sponsored by the army. And because when I came back and there was the revolution that is 1979 and 1982, I left the army. I've written 3 books, by the way, on UT, not on my life, on UT, volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. You should look for it and get, if you are interested in what I'm saying, you can hear a lot more there. But what I'm saying is that when I left the army without a plan B, the national thing was to go to UK, where I had chartered or become an accountant to use my qualification to find a job. When I got there, my classmates, I was better than that guy in class, the white guy. He was an assistant accountant somewhere, and I begged him, and he told his bosses, and they said they could give me a job in a place called Salisbury. It's like a small town. And it was a bookkeeping job as a bookkeeper. So I looked at Derek and I said, Derek, but I was better than you, and me, I'm a bookkeeper, and you are an accountant. And he said, shut up, you are black and you don't have papers. And that's all I can do for you. So I came back and I said, I'm not going to be heading in Salisbury. I'm better than that. Then later I went to Nigeria, and so it didn't work out. Personally, I have something against leaving the country for good. I believe that we've all been created, and the Creator, when He was creating us, had a purpose for us, and that's why He put us where He put us. I believe it 100%. So, if your Creator or your God put you in Ghana, what He wants or envisages that you will solve is here. Now, if you should go out and build capacities and a better life and everything and come back, you are still on track. You are building capacity. If you go and you don't come back, you have confused God. Because now you have left where the original problem is and gone to another place. And He now has to find some use for you where you're gone. That is why me standing here 10 days anywhere abroad, I'm fed up. And I have to come back. But what I'm trying to say here is that really, really being outside is not nice for me. Where you feel, as I go out, you feel that you're a 4th-class citizen, if not 5th-class citizen. Why would you want to live in such a place? Why won't you come and let's knock our heads together and try and find solutions? But I agree. A lot of my mates, friends, and people I know who have the right values and will not change, do not survive there. They come and they will go back. But they cannot bring themselves to do a whole lot of things or compromise on certain things. And it's unfortunate that it should be like that. But that is why we are here. To try and find a leader who will actually change the mindset of the people so that those outside can come and experience more or less the good order. It all hinges on changing the mindset of the new generation at least. So let's make this place a better place. This is where God put us. This is where God says solve problems and try and solve it. And we'll all be better off. I'm going to some of this country as a 5th-class citizen. Let me tell you a funny joke before I hand over the mic. So I had sold, UT Financial Service. I put it on the stock exchange. We raised $27 million. And then we wanted to buy a bank. And I had to go and meet the owner of the bank. in Macau, finally, after all sort of things. Macau is off the coast of Hong Kong somewhere. And by the way, the hotel they booked for me was $4,400 a night. Hey, I almost didn't go. Even though I had the money, I will not waste money like that. I'm from Kukwatuni. And then I couldn't also say that they should give me a cheaper hotel, but you are coming to buy a bag. So, originally I said I was going for 1 week. I thought there would be discussion for it. I said, no, I have only 2 days. It may cost $8,800. But that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is, so I was in this penthouse, $4,400 a night. And I was coming down, and I was rich by all standards. I was a billionaire. And I was coming down in the lift. On the 6th floor, the lift stopped. So I saw that people were coming to join, so I just stepped back a bit. And there were about 3 Thailand girls or Chinese girls or something like that. And they were coming to the lift. As soon as they saw me, I said, no. They won't come into the lift. It's like they see animals' brother. And they did not come to the lift. So I came down to the lobby, ordered some Johnny Walker, and they sat back like there. And giggled, looked at me and giggled and cheered for the whole 15 minutes I was waiting. You think I want to stay outside? Ghana for me.
Just the two who raised their hands.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joshua. I wanted to ask, you painted a very beautiful picture about how complex our problems are, from family, friends, to the chief, to pastors, to the politicians and citizens. And we all know that to become a president, you have to pass through all of these people to become one. How then do we bring change? If the system is very complex, and for somebody to get to the top, you have to go through these people, become a political party member, work your way through politicians to become a president. How do we ensure that we can scale the African mindset without going through that processes? And even if it's possible.
I think I did say that it's possible to cause a change in theory. You can come and stand here and say, and go away. In practice, it's almost impossible. Because it's true. You need to go through all those people. Have your family behind you, have food soldiers, get the chief to support you, get the pastor. I told you, didn't you see Muhammad kneeling down and suffer people? So if he doesn't do that, when Akufo-Addo was made president, the first year or something, I went to Kumasi for a funeral that I felt was useless, but it was my closest friend's mother relative. The president was at the funeral for 3 hours. And I was telling someone, I said, hasn't this man got a job to do for our dear country that he can come and sit in Kumasi for 3 hours? The guy corrected him and said, Kofi, you don't understand. If he spends only 1 hour, they will not vote for him again. So we have a real problem. It is not Fediagro. It is not a joke. But you know, it did happen even in Russia. You know the name of Gorbachev? Gorbachev belonged to the Polka Bureau, his family and everything, but he did not believe in the communism that we were practicing. And he dismantled it. So you need probably somebody, maybe Dike Nwabeng cohort, Dike Nwabeng scholar or ambassador, who knows what is right, but also has the flair to probably go through it. But when he gets to the top, he says, this nonsense, I have to actually stomach it to be here. But for some reason, I will say that certain things that our current president is doing is refreshing. So maybe he will carry on with the change to a point, and who knows, he may carry on and improve on it. So we have to have hope, but in reality, it's tough. Thank you.
John Olanyo Adeku. Thank you, sir, for the inspiring words. I have two questions for you. The first one, I'll quickly summarize. The first one is with respect to company financing, that's inwards. For instance, being a company owner, how are you able to discipline yourself, accumulate so much resources to a point before you would start, let's say, expansion, or before you start living a good life, before you start increasing the salaries of your directors, or, start a lavish budget? If I would ask you, sir, in your own personal experience, at what point would you say you disciplined yourself to be able to, begin some level of expenditure or expansion? And then the second one also is with respect to loans. I would like you, sir, to demystify the mindset about loans. What could be the right way to take a loan? What could be the right mindset to have to handle a loan as a business owner? What should be the right loans to take? What could be the right, approach around that? Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
The first one was okay. To run a company, you must be disciplined. Now, I told you that at some point we raised 27 million and things like that. During all that time, I had one watch, I had one shoe, I still have one shoe, I had one car that I drove myself. And for me, lavish life didn't mean anything. I've lived in my house at Tessalon, 3-bedroom house, for 21 years. And I was deceived to build a bigger house. Deceived. For later I realized when I got into that big house, I had the money, I could afford it. I went into that big house, which had swimming pool, a gym, a nightclub in the basement, 5-bedroom, whatever, all sort of frills. And I was living there with only my daughter. And not only in the basement, as a nightclub, I also had a wine cellar, importing wine from Australia, South Africa, whatever, and inviting so-called friends, big men, to come and drink and eat. Useless. Some of these people will come and enjoy. If you hear what they are saying about Kufia Model, you'll be shocked. So, really, my lifestyle never changed. That is why I'm still resilient. When people call me and say, tell us about how you have the resilience. And I never felt that I have reached to show up to who? Nobody. I don't have anybody to impress. I had responsibility, the staff, the government, the paying taxes and things like that. And I wouldn't, a lot of things don't appeal to me. A lot of things don't appeal to me. Because let me share my philosophy in life with you, and I'll make it quite brief. Again, it's simple like I believe anything that exists has been created. You agree so far? If it exists, it has been created. Now, if it's been created, there's a creator. And the creator will only create when he has some purpose in mind. That's when the creator will create. So, we come into this world. beings, and we are created by a system, a God or something. And that system of God envisages a role for us to play. We're not giving any script, right? Now we come to the world very small, 1 day old, mother and father, and they build you up and so on and so forth. And then you become an adult and so on and so forth. Now, without purpose, let's try and describe the purpose. Loosely, it means the Creator put us here to make this world, His creation, a better place. You agree with me? That's the only reason why He put us here, that we have to come and impact the world and make it a better place. But then, when you come, you don't have anything. You are even very feeble. And fast forward, you also die and you have nothing. So you come in and you die and go. So the point is that when you come into the world with that purpose, you are supposed to actually have access to worldly things, things of this world, and use those things to improve the world. And when your time comes, you go away. You don't agree with me so far? Let me tell you. So, what are you supposed to do to be able to have the worldly things? One, don't die. Don't die. If you die, Charlie, no man will be happy. Two, stay healthy. If you are not healthy, and you are depending on people and things like that, then you are causing negative impact because people should do other things and now look at them. So, number two, stay healthy. Number three, acquire the right values. That is why it's good to stay with grandmothers and parents and teachers and pastors and all those things. So they give you the right values. Because without the right values, if you do negative things, you are being negative impacting. Right values, like I talked about, honesty and all those things. The fourth thing, acquire education, a lot of it. But if you don't know about this world, you can't impact it positively. And then when you have a good education and the values and all those things, you acquire other worldly things like money and enjoy yourself too. But if you're in high spirits, you want to do more and drive and pick it. If it's buildings you can acquire, fine. But in an honest way, if you acquire it in a very dishonest way, after that, when you go there, you go and talk to you. Now, the problem is, as you get successful in acquiring the worldly things, people now flock to you because they want something from you, and they put link and they raise you up and so on and so forth. So people then start thinking, I have 2 plates. This guy has 4 plates. I'll buy 3 more. I'll buy the latest. They've gone off tangent. It is what you do with the things of this world that you acquire which matters. It is not just the acquisition. You understand where I'm coming from? So, you don't need to acquire a lot of things to make the right impact. But always be honest and have the right values, and the little that you know, use that to make the world a better place. Let's say, me, a lot of people think that's why I'm here, that you're successful, the big man. Have you stopped to ask that the fact that I'm whose legacy? Who created me? My mom, my grandmom, and all those things. Give them the credit. I didn't do it myself. So in other words, the little that you have, if you sow the right seed, only God knows what will happen to what you've left, your legacy in about 100 years, 500 years. So even if you can't do big things, do clean, small things, and when your time is up, die and go. But if you are successful in acquiring the worldly things, it should not change you. It should not change your core. You should use it to impact the world more. Now, when my bank was closed down and everything, I sat down and I reflected and I said, well, I've been caught in all this, it's going to take forever, but I have to do something useful in my life. And I started thinking, what do I have? I have all the experience of being a leader and building a great company, international, and all the authority and things like that. Certainly, I have something to give to the world. So I started writing books. So I can leave that experience and everything to the next generation of anybody who's interested. And then came the Leadership Foundation, where I think I should actually mold people, invest in people, and create the right leaders. So my life is now worth something. That's what I'm doing. And I'm very, very happy. I make sure I'm healthy, stand up in the morning, go to the gym, go and payroll, and then I dedicate myself to coaching and training these young people so they can impact the world. So it's not that at some point in time, when you go to the right, see people come, change there, come with the things there, and then they share them out rubbish. I never have. I don't even have a club. No kente, no ayeto. I don't have it. To tell you something funny, I went to the funeral. And you know when I went to the funeral, they announced the emperor. And then they have this drum and things to announce you. So I looked at and I had that cross fly to avoid the intro. And I had my hand behind me, black shirt, black trousers. Then MC happened to know me. So as I was greeting, the MC said, "Hey, Sikeni Kofia Mwami Haba, no, I know. One horse aquala, Munja, on front to my, Papa Winisika, on Nisika, they are chiso. I wanted to run away from the place. And why do people want to be praised or whatever? Like, what for? I'm more interested in what I can do in the world. So I've gone long about that. But then second is about loan. If you want a loan, please do a business plan and factor in the interest, the payment terms that it suits you. When are your revenues going to come? What pass you deploy the money? And therefore, at what rate should you pay? Is it going to add to your bottom line? If it will not add to the bottom line, do not go for it. If it adds to your bottom line, if it's shaky, look at the risk around it. What the percentage that it will be all right? Are there any things that you have to do to mitigate? Sit down and look over it. Not that you want a loan. I have seen people take loans, stupid loans, and I made money out of it. Somebody came to me and said, "If you ask for me every winter, me and the wife and the children go to Italy." I said, "Italy?" He said, "That is when we go and on the snow, we and the children in the hotel, then we bond as a family." So I said, "Then go." Said, "No, it's payment for the government income. So you want to take a loan, when it comes, he pays." I said, "Go home and tell your wife that for once, you can't go this year because your money is available." I said, "No, you don't understand. And this is someone who has money. The whole family have money." So I said, "Well, put this land, put this house, put this car, put this your personal car, collateral about 5 times, hide it properly." Because he wants to pay money. And I did the work for him. Luckily for me, when he came back, the government delayed about 5 months. And then he came and said, "Kofi, you know, the government didn't pay me area." I said, me, go Italy. Only we don't know Italy. So don't just take the loan because it's there and you want to take it. Some people can say, "It's Christmas, I need money in my pocket." And I put those, I'll do them. Pack your car, take, transfer the car documents. If you don't come and sell the car to the bank. And people are calling me that I'm a bad person. Me, who listen to your wants and create something to solve, and you say that's what you want. So don't take over that. Make sure that, and if you're not sure, stay away from it and stay at your own level and look for other opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kanye. Captain, what message would you have for our young graduates who have just gotten onto the job market and are faced with challenges or issues with regards to maybe the bureaucracies in our system, the silo attitude towards work that they end up being part of? Because some of these behaviors, about 2 years down the line, is either tend to be part of that system because they are just come out of school with a positive mindset. They either end up becoming corrupt or having a corrupt mindset or just following the system. What would you tell our young ones and business owners or startups, as well as people who have just gotten onto the job market? Thank you.
That's a difficult question. You see, in our part of the world, you are not in a rush to probably leave your family home. Some of us. Some people too, they actually have to leave early and maybe look after their parents. So you can't be one prescription for everyone. Now, I think what is important is that the young people should be patient to learn and gain experience before they make the money. Your time will come, but it requires that you are diligent and disciplined and you learn, make mistakes, whatever. And you can, if you are from a family where you can stay at home and make those mistakes and make those experiments, fair enough. Because when I started in Trust, I was 45 years old and broke. Broke to the point that my wife had even left me with my children at 45. So your time will come at the right time, but prepare for it and take the time. But unfortunately, what they see is not about preparing yourself for it. It's about being in haste and taking shortcuts because you are on campus with somebody. You are better than him and everything. He goes on air, follows political parties, insults presidents and older people, and then you see him be it. So really, why are you taking your cue from? That's the problem. That's what I'm saying. It's a very difficult question. But it depends on how you're brought up. And unfortunately, parents are shaking their responsibilities. Therefore, the kids that are coming out are free to roam where they want. When I was a captain in Ghana, and there were the pools in 1981, my father came to Accra one morning to the barracks. And I woke up and he was holding my hand like this. I said, I thought my mom was dead or something. And he said, sit down, go and brush your teeth and come and sit down. I came and sat down. And he looked at me and said, I hear you, the young officer, say that you can run the country. I, the one who paid your fees, me, I can't run this country. As for you, you are completely stupid. And he left. He said, if you should join the coup makers, me and your mother can come and bury us. And that was it. Now, my problem was if there's a coup in the office, I'm begging that nobody tells me about it. But then, if I don't report, I'm in trouble. If I report, I'm in trouble. But talking about parental care, which we are losing. So, to your point, I'll urge you, the young ones, and some of you are really doing ingenious things. I mean, with IT and AI and all sort of things, I meet a lot of young people, and they are making headway in various fields. The thing is, you have patience and dedicate yourself to the cause that you want to take, and bid your time. And don't be in a rush, and don't look at other people and therefore rush into all sort of negative things. Bid your time. Thank you very much.
So much. Unfortunately, we can't take any more questions. Sorry. Well, let's put our hands together again for Captain Retired Prince Kofi Amwabin. We love you. We honor you. Thank you so much for your time. Okay, next we have a spoken word by Irapna Asante. Shall we welcome her with a round of applause? The winners. Oh, I thought you give her more.
Thank you very much. If environment truly affects our mindsets, then if environment truly affects our mindsets, then what a blessing it is to be here with you guys. I've already learned so much, and it's an honor to speak sparks will fly. It's like a song by Janae Aiko. How do you know it? Yeah, I love it. Okay, so it's basically just to honor the different minds here. In my mind, I see you guys as flames, as fires in the different fields of work. And I hope this poem, spoken word, inspires you like it does me. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful wildfire. Tell me how you learn. Tell me how you set your world ablaze. I want to learn. Teach me about your flames. I want to know your heat. They say you are radioactive, and yeah, that's why I want to meet. So engulf me. Like Shadrach, bring me deep in your flames until I become immense, and your fire burns through my veins, Pentecost. Fill me up with your Holy Ghost. Inside that same fire in my heart, so I can burn the same. You might say that it's going to be difficult, it might be stressful, I won't be able to handle it, but what was hell to Dante, if not an art piece? So bring me into your inferno until I burn me, until I remember what it feels like to burn free, until I burn deep, until I burn wild. Free. Let me seem like our fires depend on each other to thrive. We only need to stay close. In time, sparks will fly and make us fire too, and make us beautiful, beautiful, beautiful wildfire. Your embers call my name. I look up to you, and I'm not leaving here the same. And so I'll take a seat. I will sit still at your feet, and in time, sparks will fly. Yes, Lord, sparks will fly. Then my sparks will fly. And Africa will be set on fire. Thank you. The whole word, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Ramla. That was so beautiful. Up next, we have our panel discussion, which is very interesting to all of you. And we also have some more questions and suggestions. You can also follow the panel discussion. So here to moderate is our friend Timothy, and also he's also someone who's trying to champion changing African minds, and also a broadcaster. There's a lot of things, but let's just keep it this way. So with a round of applause, let's introduce. He's already coming, so. Or let's just put it simply. Let's introduce a big man. So, yeah. So, put your hands together. I told them we are doing smart casual, but I don't think we got them. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Julian Sabantan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ophelia. It's this part together for amazing. It feels so good to be here. Thank you so much, sir, for the insights and the sharp intelligence of fitness. My name is Duncan. I work with CTFM and Channel 1 TV. I'm a broadcast journalist and a producer. Sitting for a very long time. Yes, that's all. mindset of our shared resources. A lot of words put together that definitely look at the potential for the continent, 1.5 billion people. If you look at all the developments happening every day, over 60% of the population are young people, 25 and below. That's enormous. If you look at what's happening in the gas trade, the appetite is happening 50% of global trade. It's happening interesting. 8 out of the 15 fast developing economies are here in Africa. But that notwithstanding, there are so many other challenges. Not too long ago, when this country was led some foreign security, they turned the FBI country down. And some boys were not down, right? Those of the hospitality hands, they need to tap people here. In fact, somebody on Twitter said, "No people in Africa need to look for more." And a lot of people talking on social media. That notwithstanding, there's so much potential still here on the continent, and it's important that we have some discussions to shed light on the important issues. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. If you have nice part of you, that's fine. I'm sure the ladies will join in with their contributions as the conversations progress. So without wasting my time, what has been said about what we need to do our work and Captain Young work on experience, I can take over. I want to start with Said. I must say Said is somebody I know personally. I've interviewed him on radio before and I kept referring to him as a rider. Because for the purposes of the interview, he came with Leadership Academy. You know, at one point in the interview, he got to say, there's so much more to just being a rider. Right? So let me just maybe briefly go through their profile. Then we'll take it from there. So with Said, where he right, he's an architect and CEO of Utero, right? He's a forward-thinking architect and creative entrepreneur shaping the future of urban development in Ghana. Telling us more about Utero's subsequently during this entertainment. And of course, Samuel Amano is the CEO of Blue Space International, a fintech strategist, enabling marketing institutions to scale with cloud technology. And finally, we also have David Agani, the founder and CEO of Freebar Technologies, telling us more about all that we do. Aside from himself, thank you for being with us. The new African man, and this is the set of questions you have got for me. Why is it important for you to catch up to this? You're there, you're there.
change our mindset. I believe that a lot will change.
Just so let's change that's very well when it comes to someone like my mom. Still on the same question, right? In the African mind, why is it so important for young people to have this movement with them at any point in time? Everybody, you can be positioned in mind.
as architects, I'll use my company as an example. The people I work with, I have deliberately grouped myself with people who are forward thinking, because that's the first step. You have to surround yourself with people like we've done here, people who are forward thinking, people who are ready to innovate, who are ready to break the mold and recreate. Now, we take every design process as a unique one. And indeed, in our company, if you are not willing to dare and think and dream, well, you might not feel comfortable. Now, we are trying to create a prototype living space. A prototype living space, you'd say, but why are we trying to create a prototype living space? Because we all have houses we're living in. But there's a current situation that we're facing in the world, right? And as architects, we want to find a solution to some of these problems. So we are creating a space where one can live, one can rest, one can feed himself without having to necessarily go to the market or go order food from a restaurant.
Wow.
So soon maybe we would outdoor it, but then picture a situation where you have your nature, you're tapping into nature directly. It's free and abundant in Ghana. So in Africa we have it. Now we are creating a prototype accommodation where you have farms within your compound, a small garden where you can do poultry, you can do some crops to feed yourself and your family. The lake is right there, you can catch some fish, you can rear some poultry and some cattle and feed yourself. Be in the existence of that natural environment. That space is supposed to heal you, your body and your mindset. Because whenever you find yourself in a space that is well thought through, well designed, you realize that the quality of living increases, it's better, versus living amongst, excuse me to use this word, filth. You get sick. You don't have clean environment around you. Maybe you might be in a very fancy house, but your neighbor is burning rubbish all the time. Your neighbor is living in filth, or the community around you is filthy. You're going to be sick. If you are not bringing in the sickness, you're going to get in contact with someone you're buying the food from or communicating with, and you're going to get sick. So as architects, we are trying in our small way, and we are praying and hoping that this catalyst, it affects every mindset over a period of time.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about living in filth, right? Because quite recently, we saw the Ghana Statistical Service, put out data on the number of Ghanaians living in slums, right? And the fact that we are seeing a fast developing menace of slums, even in residential areas, right? So, for example, very high prestige areas like East Legon also have fast developing slums, and that should be a concern to you. But my question actually is, in my line of work as a journalist, right, I came across this institution, the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority, and I was shocked the first time I heard it, because I've been doing journalism since service, and I only heard of them about a year or two ago, right? Do you feel it's about time we rethink the way we use land, land use in our country, and of course, spatial planning, right? Because there's so much land, but it looks like we are underutilizing it, right? In terms of even design, space, and all of that. Very briefly, put it all together for us before.
Yeah, I believe it needs to be re-looked at. The idea of Accra being the hub and everyone needs to be in Accra has created issues like these. Now, we need to decentralize. That is the main thing. This body that you have identified is supposed to think innovatively. So you're supposed to plan spaces. You don't necessarily just have to sit and say, okay, it's Accra, let's just plan Accra.
Yeah.
Look for the potential out there. Engage the experts. They need to engage the experts, people who have gone through the mill, who are doing great at what they do. Tap into their mind. It's free. And create, recreate, and re-innovate. That's what we really have to do.
Amazing. Wow. So create, recreate, and you also mentioned that it's important to rethink, land use and spatial planning. Interesting. I'll come back to you on some other questions I still have for you within the sector. But I'll come to Samuel, right? Your point around the over-independence theory stuck with me. You are within the fintech space. At City FM every June, we have what we call the City Business Festival, where we talk about helping businesses grow. The whole week was spent on developing the fintech space, enormous potential. Last week, I went to a gospel concert, right, at the Elwak Stadium. They were done, and the artist put out how people can pay. And so many different, so many different payment options, right? Even PayPal. I didn't even know, Ghanaian artists were using PayPal in their line of work and all of that. I want you to just tell us the opportunities within the fintech space, how we can also leverage on it, and end by also telling us some of the innovative things you are doing, to push out the message more.
All right, thank you for the question. I want to add one point to what you said.
Okay.
And in the New Africa Mind, I think one of the familiarity diseases, if you will, we have basically adopted the fact that we have not seen the value of our citizens. Right? So typically, if you're planning anything, you plan around the human being, because the human being that's going to use everything you're building.
Yeah.
So we haven't really put humans or our citizens at the center. So the youth are crying out. The citizens, the older citizens are crying out for help. The young guys are crying out for help. Single mothers are crying out for help. There's really no structure. I've been struggling to find a car just to go and chill and have a picnic in a park. Just a simple thing, okay, I don't want to go
The for Sutherland Children's Park.
Well, I can't do that.
A few mosquitoes, but you'll be fine.
Right. Or you want to go to the beach, and you get to the beach, it's quite dirty.
Yeah.
So there's really we haven't prioritized our human resource, right? We've taken our human resource for granted. And anything else we build, when human resources are not centered, dependency will go to the people that have prioritized their humans.
Yeah.
You get it. So if you look at the West again, I'm coming back to your question about opportunity.
Yeah.
But you can't really tap into opportunities when your people have not been made the central part. So in fintech, 99% of all the technology innovation is important. So again, there goes the dependency system, right? From building your cloud infrastructure, from coming up with the tools you need to create a fintech product, from the capital we need to actually invest in an idea, all of it is coming from the outside world. So to tap into opportunities, you first have to have capital. You first have to have the talent in place. Where the talent is, I have this idea, I have that idea, I have this use case that I believe if I build, multiple people can take advantage of it. Fintech, fortunately, is embedded in every segment. So whether you're an architect and you're dealing with prop tech, or you're dealing with cross-border fintech, if you're doing trade, there's fintech. If you're dealing with healthcare, there's fintech. Education, there's fintech. Money is embedded in every commerce.
Yeah.
And fintech is really taking these commercial processes and adding technology to it so that the exchange of value becomes seamless. Right? So I think the opportunities are enormous. Unfortunately, the capital required and the talent required so that we can take advantage of the opportunities not really, really in abundance. Right? So you find that a lot of the innovations are very scanty, they're not really scalable. If I ask you to name the largest fintech in Ghana, I'm sure your mind will go, maybe Haftal, maybe Expressway. It's not big and big enough for it to scale beyond Ghana. Right? What we're doing, at least in my story, is I came back 2010 to Rangel and EMC. And during the process, I was selling data center stuff to the banks, and I saw that, our banking infrastructure is not really modern enough, right? Because it's very old school, takes forever to just give me a simple checkbook. You can't WhatsApp, there's no app, I need a checkbook, or it's better, I'm going to run out of the leaf, like I need a new checkbook. They haven't thought about how to use data to the advantage of the citizens. Again, back to citizens, right? Back to the humans. So you're frustrated with financial services. You're frustrated with your bank. Nobody here would say, oh, their bank called them and said, oh, I see you've been depositing a lot of money in your account. What can I do to help you? The human being is not
The
in
center.
the center of the service that
For
is
you.
being offered.
Yeah.
And you see that also with regular customer service. People don't really care, right? So it's affecting the growth of all the things that we want to build because the human being has not been prioritized.
Interesting. Wow. You mentioned three things that stuck with me now. The fact that there's the capital problem, there's also the talent. And in talking about talent, you tie it to the fact that we've not harnessed the human potential, right? The human resource bit of it. Wow, quite some point. I want you to just put all of it together for me with regards to how we could also use emerging tools, right? So, for example, AI is big, artificial intelligence, exactly, everybody's jumping on it. What role has it got to play with fintech, and how can we use it to, better the industry?
So the shocking truth here is AI is no different than fire, right? So if you look at the innovations that happen over the centuries, when something new comes, there are three groups of people. The guys that said, you know what, I'm going to investigate this, I'm going to do something with it.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure a lot of people have used fire to create different things, right? Cars, wood, furniture, whatever, right? Fire is being used everywhere. Cook food, keep your home clean and warm.
Yeah.
But when new tech comes out, these three groups, the guys who will quickly investigate, create use cases, the guys who just talk about it or do nothing, and then the guys who will learn a little bit and be a worker with the guys who created something about it. Right? So these groups of people are constantly evolving. And in Africa, because we haven't laid the foundation really well to harness people, the skills and talent you need to really use AI for its full potential is going to be a problem. Number one, you need a lot of data, right? Data that belongs to you, data that you can harness. Today, all of our data is owned by the foreigners.
True.
Google, Amazon, the likes, right? But we can use simple tools to improve how we share information, aggregate information, provide customer service, do research on urban living, do research on corporate payments. The tools are there now, but you have to pay a lot of money to get access to these. So, for example, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, UAE, invested for all their citizens to have free subscription to ChatGPT. Wow. Right? Because they know the power of that fire. Right? It's no longer AI, it's fire, because that's where you need to build everything else. It's like oxygen in your whole world.
Yeah.
So it's coming and it's a wave. I feel like our leaders need to pay attention because this is beyond just another computing capability.
Interesting.
It changes everything.
I'll come back to you on regulation, right? And regulatory framework. Because of course, with every good thing that comes, just like your fire analogy, it has its positives and equally, its negatives could be even more damaging, right? So I'll come back to you on the regulatory framework needed for AI.
Like we need a fire service for AI.
Exactly, absolutely. I like how you put it. But let me go to Ebenezer quickly. I'll come back for a final round of questions. And I know you have questions as well, so don't get bored. We are learning something new. I'll come to you as well for your questions before we wrap this. We hope to wrap it in good time. But Ebenezer, WeWire Technologies, an interesting name you have for your business. Maybe towards the end, you tell us what you are into. But focusing on the digital space, right? It's been an area where, of course, we've seen some progress, we've seen some positive stuff. But there's also been a lot of negative, things happening, for want of a better word. Like I said in my introduction, just last week, the FBI were in town. They arrested people, or they arrested a person, some other people under investigation, right? Of course, for fraud. Mostly happens on the internet, right? So talk to us about how young people can use the digital infrastructure space, to be more creative rather than being disruptive, if you get my question correctly.
Yeah, I get it. Perfect. I always say the asset that is mostly used for bad things. That people will talk about is cash. Cash is the basic asset of the human history. But it has become so common to us that we don't think about it. If I want to sell something to Shady,
payment or meet you with a cashier. Same thing, technology can be used for both good and bad, but it depends on the user of the technology. Let me give you another story here. About 3 weeks ago, I was just doing an audit on our compliance team, and a company flagged my attention. I was like, okay, this company says they're a payment company. They have some licenses in some markets and all that. Then I started doing research into it, like researching the company. And this was, the result of the research showed that some organization, someone has gone through the length of portraying themselves as going to a country, gotten a license to a country that they are regulated on some banking services and want to come to our platform to get access to multiple banking services to serve their customers. Now the question is, same thing the person is doing is similar to what we are doing. But we are selling a new solution to business, but this person is pushing something to go for someone.
Wow.
So the same technology can be used for different purposes, but it depends on who is behind it, your integrity behind it, and what you aim to do with it. And coming back to the late question about like our friends who are in town and who they are picking up and all that, I think it's also about, if you watch a lot of people that get into that game, that's who they see growing up. Who are they looking up to? I'm sure if you listen to them say, okay, see this person who's driving this car, I start to be like that. So the question becomes, how did that person get that car? How did that person get that house? And if you get to know that the person is doing ABCD, then you say, okay, let me follow ABCD.
Following blindly.
Following blindly. But you can't blame young people for also following them blindly, because that is what they see. They don't see a lot of the new people showing that, okay, ABCD, I'm telling my story, this is what I did to get to this part. For me to follow. All I'm seeing is these people showing me, you have like a lot of people who have given money, but because they don't want family members to know the money, like, okay, let me leave that reserve life, let me wear a dirty shirt, let me do something to show that I don't have anything. Who emulates you? No one.
Yeah.
But if I see the person who is draped and he's the person I'm going to emulate for young people. So it's about you showing the positives in the face for young people to follow the positives.
Amazing. So showing the positives so young people, follow the train, right? I like the way you put it. Amazing. Let me come to you for a final round of questioning. Then we'll open it up to our audience. They ask it, then we'll probably call it a wrap. Said, Accra is fast becoming gentrified, right? So for example, you go to Spintex on the main road, everybody's opening a shop, right? Everybody wants to sell furniture. You go to somewhere else, everybody is Legon, Lagos Avenue. Aside the other one that happens in the evening, everybody wants to open a saloon, right? How do we become different, in our thinking when it comes to our land and, of course, under the big umbrella of spatial planning?
Just before this question, architects have a big role to play. And it's rather unfortunate that they have not been given the proper mandate to serve. Because like a lawyer or an artist, if you need some good legal support or some amazing expensive art, you go to an artist. You don't just walk to the roadside person. If the leaders in the right position select the right people to do the right job, I don't think we're going to have Spintex and some of these places you've mentioned transform the way they have, because you need people who are thinking about the future. People who are going to sit down and brainstorm and say, let's look at it again. The urban assembly or the people in charge of planning have done this, and it was done how many decades ago? If you go there and you see the data, it was done decades ago. Secondly, the assembly and the planning authority have this stigma about them. So an architect would not really find it attractive to want to go work there.
Interesting.
Okay. So we have to improve on the quality of the minds that create these things.
So it's a mindset problem.
It is.
And also a leadership problem. In that those who vote into power should stop appointing career politicians into technical fields, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
So our works and housing minister should be a proper architect at the very least.
Thankfully, the deputy works and housing minister is an architect. Thankfully.
Gisela
the first time it has
Tete,
happened
right?
like this, I'm so happy about that.
Yeah. So I like the way you put it, right? You hit the nail right on its head. You know, homes won't fix the problem. You're going to pick some assemblyman from some place, you know, and because of loyalty, he's a minister making decisions in very technical areas. Unfortunately. Wow. Thank you so much for that point. Let me come to Jonathan Ebenezer, right? Before I come back to you on the regulatory framework. You know, still on the digital space, young people are doing a lot there, right? I don't even want to go into the betting industry. 500 billion. That's a lot of money. You know, here in Ghana, it's worth somewhere in the region of 30 billion, right? It's mostly fueled by young people. They bet money off us. All of us sitting here, you know, look at our faces. How can we make money on the internet? You know, and do it responsibly, right? In a manner that doesn't hurt someone's family. And I'm talking about fraud, romance fraud, and all of that, right? So how do we make legit money, you know, on the internet?
I think it's curiosity. How curious are you? You are talking about betting. The question is, a lot of people that bet. Have you asked yourself, where is the need in the betting industry? Who is making money?
Where is there?
Like, where is there?
Okay, yeah. Go on, yeah.
One of the most highest earners, okay, the highest earner in the UK every year is the CEO of Bet365. She ranks in 300 million in wages every year. So if you are a young person and you're saying, okay, I want to bet my way to make money. The question is, flip the script and see, okay, how did this person become where she is by owning a betting company? And we've engineered that. For me, that is my system way of thinking. It's about looking at what people are doing and figuring out where in the value chain to live. When sticking to betting, if you do your research into it, like realize that the odds are against you. The betting companies exist because they have to make money. At the end of the day, they have to win all the time.
It's not a charity fund.
It's not a charity fund for you to make money. If you are going to borrow money to go and bet and you think that's going to be a financial breakthrough, it's not going to happen.
It doesn't work that way. Interesting.
I trade, like I've been trading forever. And I see a lot of people also come to say like, I want to trade, I want to make money, and I'm going to buy a course, I'm going to do this, I'm going to buy a bot that will magically make money for where I sleep and all those things. And the greed from that party. It's probability, it's math, it's all, you have to let your curiosity drive.
It's ways and means.
Exactly.
It's some way, it's not clear.
You can't just be looking things on the face value and think that you just make it because you've learned one or two things or someone has given a pep talk about things or you paid for a course, so you are good to go. It's, again, curiosity. Curiosity, go down that rabbit hole and learn more about this space.
Yeah. My betting example was just, you know, an example of what you are interested in. You know, the substance of my question really is, how do we make money legitimately? You know, how do we even go about looking for the existing opportunities within the digital space to take advantage of? Okay. Very briefly, then we move on.
We've talked about AI right now. There's so many things we can do with AI as different individuals and different. It's all about the space you are in, your background. You can just go to ChatGPT and ask your ideas. Once you ask your ideas, you can like start drilling it into the different sectors. Like let it be relatable to your background. So I can't go and tell someone who is in healthcare that once you see something in finance, just do it. Do that in finance because you don't have sector knowledge. So then you caught in a space where you are like a rabbit where you doesn't stop.
Yeah.
So fix things in your sector and go down that rabbit hole in your sector because everyone I believe who bases it's an expertise in an area. That is where you see the edge cases and you're able to make money from those edge cases.
Amazing. I'll just add to him that it's important you read, right? So my boss Bernard will always say, Charlie, Jude, read about the thing. And the beautiful thing about reading is that, guys, believe me,
And I'm sure you've also experienced it. If you read, you know, right? If you read it, you find it. And of course, taking advantage of opportunities like this, you know, to broaden your horizon, meet new people, network. Let's put our hands together for the organizers of this. Let's do it much better. Amazing. So the new mind, the new African mind, it's very important. Finally, Sami, final round of question, right? I wanted to just also touch on something I had mentioned earlier. You know, regulatory framework, essentially who watches the watchman? How do we ensure that something or a tool that is meant to enable our work doesn't rather become what, you know, exposes us so much to the point of distraction? Tidy it for us and let's.
Okay. In terms of regulations, to understand regulation, you have to be a player. Right? I think that's very, very important. But before I answer that,
go on.
I feel like the digital question on the opportunities, how do you make money on the internet? I think life is all about betting.
Taking risks.
Life is all
let's you know, if you say betting, people can't ask you for odds.
I know.
Unless you have odds to give out.
I want to use the other word that is divinely given to all of us. Life is like time and chances, right? So you have to understand that the more you understand the options available to you, then your chances will increase. Then you find that, oh, maybe I don't have to go and do Sakawa in order to prosper on the internet, right? If you're good at videos, there are video generator software. So perfect that, like he said, follow the path of your passion. If you like images and photography, there are content creation tools or image creation tools in AI that you can use. If you like research or if you like philosophy or whatever you like, AI has a use case for that. So my advice to the young people is, please bet on that, right? Give yourself a chance. Understand that these opportunities are available to you. So now that I've sort of satisfied the life is a bet, let me go back to the question on regulatory frameworks that we can all sort of adapt to. Obviously, in any field, whether it's FIFA or banking, there's a regulator. So our market has a very fragmented regulatory framework for different financial services. If you want to do betting, there's a gaming commission for you. If you want to build a fintech, you have the central bank.
The securities and also the security and exchange.
You have the SEC. Right? But if you want to play in Liverpool or Manchester, you know FIFA is your guy. Right? So the referee has rules for the players. So in AI, unfortunately, it's a universal technology. And there's no one size fits all regulator
for it
to regulate AI insurance or AI fintech or AI pensions or AI gambling. Right? It's so universal, like I said, it's fire. So what will be happening is the ministries of communication, so you have Honorable Sam George and his team, they have to figure out, okay, if this information technology can affect all these other sectors, then they need to come together and build a what we call a federated regulation framework so that regardless of what sector of financial services you're playing in, if you adapt AI, there's a clarity in terms of the rules.
Interesting. Can I quote you on this in the news?
What's that?
As in
that life is a bet?
Wow. You know, interesting way you put it, right? Maybe just a follow-up question. You know, you talk about the fact that it's a universal tool now. You know, there's not really, you know, a one-size-fits-all approach. But for young people who want to take advantage of the opportunity, you know, what should be some of the self-imposed guardrails, right, to help them stay on the straight and narrow?
Don't marry an AI girlfriend or boyfriend.
So don't be addicted. You know, just like betting, don't be addicted. Or we say don't be overly dependent.
Correct.
Amazing. Let's put our hands together for. Let's do it much better for them. Amazing. You know, coming to do this, I tried to read around some of the things we're going to discuss, right? And it's funny how despite trying to go beyond what we're going to discuss, all three of our panelists have still been able to mention things that I've not really heard of before, to the point that I'm really learning something new for today's panel discussion. I'm sure you're also learning something new as well. Said talks about the fact that it's important, leadership plays an active role in managing our public spaces. You see somebody has bought a big land, then the building is some way. People are even building into the road. All of those things needs to be checked, right? There are so many opportunities within the space young people can take advantage of. Of course, Mr. Ghani also talks about the fact that it's important we look out for opportunities, within the digital infrastructure space. So you can do so by reading more. You can also do so by leveraging on available tools. AI is one of those tools, right? Within whichever space you belong. And of course, someone also touched on the fact that within the fintech space, life is a bet. Life is not odds, but it's a bet. Of course, he also talks about the capital problem within the space. He talks about the talent problem, right? He started off with a beautiful introduction of what he describes as the over-independent theory, where we don't put people at the center. I hope I got you correctly with this brief narration. Amazing. Let's put our hands together for them one more time. What I'm going to do now is I'm opening it up. I know you have so many questions, right? Already hands are flying up. Don't worry, take your time. We'll try and go through all of it for you. So, just to be clear, Said will be tackling issues around the architecture space, right? Building the built environment. That's how you guys call it. Of course. He also rides a motorbike. So if you want to learn how to ride a motorbike, Said, are you issuing a disclaimer? Well, I've seen you ride a motorbike. And in fact, you've been on my show talking about motor riders. Anyway, so he'll be answering questions around the built environment. Ebenezer will be handling questions around the digital infrastructure space. So you have a business. Of course, you can't go and buy a shop at East Legon. They'll tell you $1 million. You've not seen some before. But of course, you can start on social media, right? So you'll be handling those questions. And of course, finally, Samuel will tackle issues around betting. And also, making money, the capital you need to start a business, right? So beyond the technology, it should have been a question I should have asked, but time. So beyond the technologies available, how do I raise money to start a business as a young person? So these are the issues we'll be tackling. Any questions? I want to do it 3 at a go. Okay, so if you have a question, just please raise your hand so we do it at a go. Wow, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Thank you. My name is Kanyi. Okay. But as a form of information sharing, Mr. Duncan, Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority used to be Town and Country Planning. So in 2016, it was, yes. Okay, so my question probably... Hello? Within the built environment space, you talked about using the inappropriate professionals, right, for the wrong jobs. Like for instance, maybe you use a planner for a surveyor's job, you use a surveyor for, or you ask an architect to do some form of urban design, which probably is a planner's job and all. So the total output of what you end up getting is not what is expected, right? So in instances like that, the up and coming professionals in the built environment, what do you think should be done to change their mindsets to know that, oh, this job is for an engineer, a civil engineer, this job is for a planner, like the professionals within the built environment space. Then also you realize that if you take every top-notch community, there is a slum community just by it. And you realize that these slum communities end up one way or the other servicing the community. Like maybe you take East Legon, you find some small slum in one corner. You take Cantonments, there's some small, So how do you think this should be sorted out within the land use space, right? The last question.
Hello, my name is Natasha. I'm an interior and landscape designer, and I also have a tree stop treatise. There are free samples, so please pick one before you leave. My question is to Saeed as well. I'm actually very curious about the prototype you spoke about. I wanted to know what is the target market for the design that you are doing. A lot of times I have an issue with people designing for, as you mentioned, with the person at the center, but then not considering their financial capabilities, or at least putting in place options for the various financial sectors. So I wanted to find out what is your target market, and if there are going to be particular groups of people you are targeting, different designs for it, and if not, if that's something that you are going to look into or consider. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Kwame. I am in the education technology space, and just like Sam said, finance touches everything, and I think that education touches everything as well. And especially for the new African mind, I believe education is the catalyst. The question I want to ask is, all three of you, highlighted an instance where you interacted with the old, non-progressive, archaic mindset of the generation, I guess, before us, and likely affecting our generation and those younger as well. What should we do as a collective, especially the middle class, right? I have some Finnish friends who say that our country is very classist. The middle class tends to think that just because they have some sort of education, exposure, etc., they are insulated from the realities on the ground. What should we do beyond having these sorts of beautiful conversations as a middle class to make things happen? Yeah. My name is Kwame. Yes.
Okay, so my name is Prince, and my question has to do with the opportunities. You see, in our space, Ghana, when you pick those digital opportunities, we are not having much information. It's now that we are all having the gradual exposure. So you go online, and then there are a lot of, should I say, companies or groups giving online courses that giving digital skills. I remember Google had digital skills for Africa. Now there's ALX, then there's others. So my question has to do with what are the right ones that you can grab? Is it just doing anything that you want, or just doing the course that you want to do, but finding the ones that are impactful and the ones that is going to help.
The first one having to do with the built environment, right? Slums that are developing in high-rise areas or in prestige areas. And of course, Natasha wanted to also find out more about the prototype you are developing, very briefly.
Okay, so with the first question, I believe he wanted to understand how we should handle the various professions and how they are being mixed up, right? Now, I believe that it all comes back to a mindset, truly, because if you go through a rigorous training and you do hone your skills, you become the best at what you do. If you are being placed in a particular space, it's up to you to fight to be placed in the right position. Okay, so if you are a planner and you are being asked to do a particular part of the built environmental space skill, and you believe truly that that is not what you are supposed to do, kindly direct it to the right person. Recommend a colleague, because we went to school, we've trained, we've interacted with people who we know do these things. Say, oh, I'm not so great at this, or I have just a general knowledge. Please see this person.
Put people on.
Exactly.
Interesting.
We have to take away the selfish behavior and allow people or collaborate with people.
So collective.
And then work. Let me pitch this in. We are going to have a conversation with some African architects. We're calling it the African Union Architects, African Union of Architects, right? Where we are going to group and have discussions for the continent. We are not all doing the same thing. We have to collaborate, share knowledge, allow people to do what they are supposed to do. So do not give, we have to start from here. If you want a project done for you and you say, oh, I can do it myself, that's the first mistake. Are you trained to do that job? Is your mom supposed to call you to come and do a door, or go call some mason to do something like that? You have to educate the next person that this is wrong, let's do it this way. That is why we are doing this. I'm so happy that we are doing this kind of thing. Now, the next thing is, you wanted to know how we are going to deal with the high rise and the slum.
The slum scene,
Yeah. So we have to start to dissociate from these kind of practices. We have to see that it's wrong. That's when we are going to discourage that activity from happening.
Yeah, but you see, I really want to push back. It's people's livelihood we are talking about, right? So these are people, of course, in the slums in East Legon. They work in the big corporations there, right? So it's about their livelihood as well. So
you see, so when you are going through the traffic, you realize that you find that the same people that serve you are also kind of a nuisance. Right. Now, to dissociate from that mindset, you also have to look for a solution. There is a solution. That's the thing. Storm and find a solution, because there's a way of life. It's a culture whereby we have certain activities serving us, but at the same time, these activities are hurting us. So let's find a way. Let's brainstorm and find a way.
And I didn't want to be political, but will you say the previous government's approach in dealing with something similar, right, for the head porters, as we commonly refer to as Kayaye, building a school for them, providing some form of temporary accommodation for them, helping them in alternative livelihood support, right? So they go and do the head porting business, they come back to the school, they learn something new, there's accommodation for them. Do you feel like a decent accommodation? Do you feel that approach could be the way for slum dwellers?
So the thing is, all these initiatives have been well thought through. I believe so. Now, it's not just about starting and then you let go of it. The issue is it's not carried out thoroughly, because some of these policies are hooked onto partisan
lines.
So the moment something changes, they let go of it. So you have great ideas, and then it fizzles.
So government should be a continuum.
Some of these policies
should be
locked in
beyond whichever government is in place. Interesting. Briefly, the prototype. Natasha wanted to.
Right. So it's not as though we have selected to do one and not do the other. But then we are a group of young minds that are trying to start a movement where we want to let architects understand that we have the power. Now we want to exhibit this power to the rest of the African community, where we build an ideal living space so that you see there are options that you can actually create something that works for you. Your architects have to now think outside the box
Yeah.
to create what is African, what is Ghanaian, what works. So if we are able to create this oasis and it works, now we are going to move to the next thing because we have to start from one
somewhere.
Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Sai. I will still be around after this panel discussion. So if you need any further, clarity on this model, I'm sure you'll be available to offer insights. Let me come to you, Samuel. The very first question by Giovanni, raising capital, to start, an enterprise or to move into anything of your choice. How do we go about it? Fintech man, money man.
Should I ask ChatGPT for this? I think we have two kinds of capital in Ghana right now.
Yeah.
We have very, very short-term capital, which your uncle and your auntie can give you. So do research in your family, who's the richest guy in your family, investigate a bit better. Or if you can't get that person, see who can guarantee for you, right? That's the first advice. So if you leave your family, you go to the external source of funding, which is typically a VC, a bank, or private equity, or a grant that an organization is running, they want to see if you're packaged right.
Yeah.
They want to see how polished your systems are. How prepared are you to take, somebody else's money to go and run your experiment? Because every startup is like an experiment. We all know what happens to startups. A lot of them die. Great ideas, but they don't succeed. Right? Maybe a few are successful, but it takes time. So they
in-person or self-person development?
I think the first thing is about you as an individual. What are you obsessed with? What comes naturally, like obsession with first? What I see some people do is course hop, which is like I'm doing ALS, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing that. But there's no intention behind it. It's because they've heard data science or something, so you go do data science. The next day is AI, they're going to do AI. It's what do you want? There should be a plan. It shouldn't be just because you have to do a course, so you are doing a course. And not again,
You can do that experiment of hopping around, but you can do it in a more risk-free environment. For example, YouTube is free for everyone to use. I probably say I consume more YouTube than a lot of people. Every day I'm watching one thing, I'm learning about planes, the next day I'm learning how to raise capital, I'm learning about I'm not learning for the certificates. A lot of people go in that, oh, I'm going to do this course so that I'll get this certificate and you give. The certificate just gives you a plus, or it just gives you entry to the interview room. After what you go and say in the interview room will give you the job or will give you the capital if you're going to raise money. Where you go and meet the investor that you say, I've learned this thing, I want to do the business and this thing. What's the industry expertise that you have in that space? So it's about having the clear intention of, okay, I'm going through the experiment, I'll learn a bunch of things. Once that I find willing to do more, I'll go down directly to learn about it. Then the question around the middle class segmentation thing, for me, what I have done in my life to prevent that is certain people are there, I don't speak to them about certain issues. For example, I can't go and sometimes some people ask me, why are you quiet? I'm like, don't worry, I'm in my thoughts and I can't share what I'm thinking with you because it's not because I feel like they don't have the right answers for you. They will, especially the loved ones, they tend to kill your visions. In the right, so like they are looking out like the best for you.
Yeah.
Like right now, I have like a wild vision, and if I tell a lot of people, they're like, "Yeah, this guy it's crazy," but it's who you talk to. So if you know you're going to talk to, let's say, a professor who is going to tell you something about try and convince you, you can challenge the status quo. I remember like in one professional management, one course in uni, where I was talking to my professor, that was back in 2016, we were debating in class about Bitcoin, where he thought it was a scam in 2017. And again, he had this whole reason because he has gone to school, he was a doctor, and he was doing his valuation based on a model. And I was also coming from a point of view that you should look at. But his view, again, I didn't let his view overshadow my view, saying that, okay, because he's a professor, so let me leave it. I've heard from finance professor. You have to break through the barriers, you have to challenge status quo.
Challenge status quo, yeah.
Silicon Valley to everyone we learn from in the world, they are challenging status quo. We sit here and Elon Musk is fighting with the president of the country, he's challenging status quo. That is the only way you break through us. You can't just go and, it's not every time you go and say please for what you want.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to be rebellious a bit to get what you want.
Wow. Sometimes you have to be rebellious a bit to get what you want. What a way to end. That's a bet. Amazing.
On the gentleman, I think one thing that's missing,
yeah,
right, all the high school and the university program, the career day thing is only one day.
Yeah.
Somebody flies in and they do a career day. And
they wear military uniform.
But a lot of people are not learning.
Yeah.
They're actually just listening to information, passing the exams, or chew and boring, all that stuff. I think we need more one-on-one, ongoing career mentors. So you have to date your mentor. Right? What I mean is you have to buy me food, take me out to dinner.
A more personal relationship.
And then you can do the barter trade. I can exchange what I know with my experience because you bought me some food. And I'm serious about it. Because if you don't show any commitment in investing for what you want, and you think it's free, you're not going to grow, right? You have to invest in your mentors, right? So find somebody that's doing what you desire to do, and go and invest. If it means buying pure water or a crate of water for that guy, go and do that.
Wow.
If it means you buying them a free watch, something, show that you care about the knowledge you want to tap.
Interesting.
And then you can grow from that angle.
Wow.
We like taking things for free.
Yeah.
So there's opportunity for you. If you have an ambition for what you want to become, find that person and sow a seed. I'm not a pastor.
So find that person and sow a seed, right? Essentially underscoring the fact that mentorship is crucial and you need to grow the relationship, right? The more the person grows, you also grow. What a panel discussion has been. Future-proven Africa, right, the mindset to harness our shared resources. And I'm so convicted from this conversation that indeed we are living with something really valuable, some really deep insights. If for nothing at all, I'm sure you picked something that, you know, will stick with you. I know you still want to ask some more questions, but you know, the part of the resources or the part of the understanding the new African mind is that we need to stay within time, right? So also it's also important. But the good news is my panel